Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned. Oh snap. I think we're doing it live. I think we are doing it live once again. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like an Eddie Bravo. Today, as does tend to happen, I'm flying solo in this bitch. The regular panel members that you've come to know and love are all fucking busy. It's the 4th of July weekend. It's to be expected. But more importantly, it is International Fight Week. And International Fight Week brings us the thing that we wait for the entire first half of the year, and that is the biggest card the UFC will put on for the first half of the year. In 2019's case, we have a dual title defense. We have Jones versus Santos and Nunez versus Holmes at 135. So before we jump into the meat and potatoes section of the card, as it were, we'll do like we always do here. We do have some news and recent events since the last time we got to do a show and spend some time with you fine folks. We're getting the audio thing again. Audio streams current bitrate is a thing. I don't know. It seems to be working. Let me check something real quick. I don't know. Show's just fine on my side of the playback, so I'm just going to ignore that for right now. It's fucking with me. So, news and recent events. First thing I'm going to talk about here, there's been a bunch of fights announced this week. The International Fight Week has been a beautiful excuse for the UFC while everybody is condensed down in Vegas for the Hall of Fame ceremony and things like that. They have taken full advantage of doing press and letting all the nice little juicy tidbits roll out for the UFC. So we're going to start at the top of the list here with some of the fights that have been announced. Some of them have dates, some of them do not have dates. Some of them are still in talks and are not official, but most of them, for lack of a better term, are ready to roll. It's just a matter of getting to that card. So right out the gate, the first thing here, Aluminum Mike Perry against Vicente Luque for August 10th. Vicente Luque, I've been screaming about for months and months and months. He was a great, great prospect on Ultimate Fighter. He is into the UFC now, and the man is starting to make some fucking waves. Keep your eyes out because Aluminum Mike has had a rough fucking road lately. Ever since he tried that bullshit going to Winklejohn and taking over against Cowboy, and we all saw how fucking laughably piss poor that went. He has just been on a shit streak, and if Luque can hold his shit together, he can keep Aluminum Mike in the recycling bin where those of us that hate that loudmouth motherfucker would prefer him to stay. But the next fight I'm going to talk about real quick that was just announced this week that, oh shit, has some spicy potential as far as the belt goes, depending on what Rose decides to do. Joanna versus the Karate Hottie. That's an interesting matchup. The Karate Hottie, I feel, is screaming very loudly for her chance at the belt, but I don't know that she has realistically earned it. And with Joanna on the skids right now, that could make for a very interesting matchup. Karate Hottie's got to have her shit together, though. So we'll wait and see how that one plays out. The next one here, I'm not really sure how I feel about this one for a couple of reasons. Talking about Jack the Joker Hermanson versus Jared Cannonier to headline September 28th card. I, on one hand, I feel like Cannonier does deserve a big name after dropping Silva, but at the same time, I don't think that Hermanson's really as big of a name as he deserves for stopping Anderson Silva, for fuck's sake. But on the other side of that, I feel like the same thing is valid for Hermanson. I feel like Hermanson might have had a couple of misguided outings, but he really deserves a top guy. And at the same time, even though Cannonier stopped Silva, I definitely give him top 10, but I don't think he's really a top 5 tier guy. And I think, honestly, Hermanson is ready for a top 5 guy, but we'll see. This could just shake out and be exactly what we need to figure out where both of them stack in the division. So moving on from there, interesting match and placement for this one here. I'm talking about Joanne Calderwood versus Andrea KGB Lee in Abu Dhabi. That is an interesting matchup, both stylistically, also for the fact that they are two of the palest white ladies in the UFC going to fight in the Middle East card, which is, great on them. Just irony is a little palpable there, in my opinion. No, no judgment. The next fight I'm going to talk about real quick, as my dog takes off with my pillows, apparently, is Edson Barboza versus Paul Felder 2, the rematch in Abu Dhabi as well. So very, very interesting potential there. Neither one of these gentlemen are the same fighter that they were when they faced the first time. They've both got worlds more experience, but on the other side of that, they both also have some significant injuries and losses since the last time they fought as well. So that one, realistically, I think that's one of those where I love both of those guys. I fucking love Edson. I still think he's got some of the most dangerous kicks in the fucking world. I still think he's got a lot of potential. Same with Felder. He has still got that fucking hand from hell. The Irish Dragon is far from done, but both of those gentlemen, I feel like, have sort of crested as far as their careers have gone and are about to start the second half, or the back nine, as it were, of their combat sports careers. But I like that they're matching them back up again. It's two guys that are about the same age as far as UFC experience, as far as mileage goes, as far as points in their career, and they could still potentially give us a really great fight. So I still think there's a lot of good potential in that matchup. But the biggest fight that has been announced this week, in my opinion here, just confirmed yesterday, the headliner for UFC 243, the fight that we've been waiting for, Robert Bobby Knuckles Whittaker versus Israel the Last Stylebender Adesanya for the unified 185 belt. Oh shit, that's going to be such a great fight. That's such a great fight. And not for nothing, but when they get to do the unofficial first face-off between the two of them, of course, as always, Robert Whittaker shows up. He's got a nice suit on, and Israel Adesanya, true to who he is, shows up in blue jean shorts, knee-high socks, slippers, t-shirt, fanny pack. He's fully rocking the tourist look, and I fucking love that dude. Mutual respect on both parts. There's not a lot of shit talking. There's not a lot of animosity or anything, but rumor has it we may get to see this fight go down in Australia. Now, they asked Dana about it at the press conference, and he could not remember. So they're planning it for somewhere in the Australia, New Zealand area. That's going to be a great fight later on this year. A couple more things news-wise that I do want to mention, not fight announcement related, real quick, and then we'll get into some meat and potatoes here. First and foremost, John Lineker has been cut from the UFC. The Hands of Stone no longer fly under the UFC banner. Now, this could mean a couple of things, in my opinion, overall here. First and foremost, it means that they are starting to thin out the regiment of smaller guys that they have. They've already confirmed it a million fucking times, despite what everybody heard, despite what we all thought, despite what some of us were looking forward to potentially seeing. They're not getting rid of the flyweight division. The little guys are sticking around, but it definitely looks like they're thinning the herd down there. Lineker, to his credit, has been around for fucking ever. But as we've talked about the last couple times his fights have come up during one of our podcasts, he's just fucking unreliable. And when you got a guy that's unreliable, dangerous or not, you're not doing yourself any favors by keeping him on the fucking roster. So he got cut. Now, the other side of that is that this now means that he could potentially take those hands of stone of his and go over to, I don't know, maybe a Ryzen, maybe a 1FC, where perhaps the supplement testing is a little less lax and he could get a little gusto going and maybe make a run over there. Or there's another possibility that I've tossed around with a couple of other fellow MMA meatheads like myself, and we think may be interesting, is if those hands of stone trot on over to BKFC and throw some real power at some bare knuckle boxing, because whether you care for John Lineker as a fighter, as a person or not, you cannot deny that those hands of stone are fucking legit. He has proven time and time again he's got a fucking highlight reel to show that when that man connects with your chin, he can do serious fucking sleepy time damage to you. And you take that over to bare knuckle where there's no fucking gloves and dudes generally get